Hey guys, tonight we're doing something a little primitive. Imagine this. You open your eyes, and it's not your room. No LED clock, no hum from your fridge, no soft glow from your phone screen. The only light left is the last ember of sunset bleeding out behind the trees. You're barefoot, hungry, and alone in a world that doesn't even know what electricity is because it hasn't been invented yet. Not even fire has. Just you, the night, and the sound of something breathing out there that is definitely not you. You might think you could survive one night here, right? Spoiler, you probably wouldn't. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, comment below where you're listening from and what time it is. I love knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You take your first step into the prehistoric night, and the world instantly closes in. The forest seems alive. Every leaf trembles, every branch groans, every shadow breathes. Your ears strain, trying to separate the sounds, the chirp of insects, the distant splash of water, and something moving low to the ground. The air smells sharp. Wet leaves, old bark, and the faint iron-like tang of earth that hasn't been touched by human hands. The moon is a sliver tonight, which means visibility is, well, let's just say it's worse than that one camping trip where you forgot your flashlight. You crouch low, trying to quiet your breath. Somewhere in the distance, a long rising growl echoes, too deep to be wind, too deliberate to be imagination. It's strange. You've never really thought about how much we rely on light to feel safe. Without it, even your own heartbeat sounds like a threat. You can't see your hands, but you can feel them tremble. The world feels ancient, heavy, and entirely uninterested in whether you make it through the night. A rustle, then another. Something is circling you. Instinct kicks in. You grab the nearest thing, a stick not much thicker than your wrist, and hold it out like a sword, which would be heroic if you weren't shaking like a leaf. A pair of eyes flash in the dark, reflecting that thin line of moonlight, yellow, wide, patient. The creature doesn't need to see you clearly. It can smell you, hear you, feel the vibration of your heartbeat through the ground. The first humans knew this fear. Every night was a test. You either stayed alive until dawn, or you became part of something else's meal plan. That's not a metaphor. That's just Tuesday 40,000 years ago. You start to move, slowly, keeping low, one foot pressing down over the sound of the other. The forest floor is slick with fallen fruit and wet leaves, and every step feels like a coin toss between the silence and death. The thing behind you moves again, closer now, padding softly. The earliest humans didn't have language as we know it, but they had warning cries. Deep, guttural sounds passed from throat to throat, carrying the meaning of danger long before words existed. You imagine one now, a sharp grunt escaping your lips before you even think. It startles the creature for a second. It pauses. You don't waste time. You bolt. Branches whip your face. Thorns snag your arms. You crash through the undergrowth like a runaway cart, every sound you make calling out to the night. Here I am, fresh and terrified. But somehow the forest doesn't swallow you whole. After what feels like forever, the growl fades into the distance. Maybe the beast lost interest. Maybe it's waiting for an easier meal. You collapse beside a fallen log, panting. The silence that follows is almost worse than the chase. It's too big, too absolute. Somewhere high above, the stars blink awake one by one, watching quietly as you curl into yourself for warmth. Your body knows what to do, even if your mind doesn't. You pull your knees in, press your arms tight, and breathe through the cold. The human instinct to conserve heat is ancient, older than memory itself. You try rubbing your hands together, but friction only brings a faint trace of warmth, nothing more. This is the night before discovery, before light, before stories and laughter around the fire. Right now, all that exists is survival. You listen. The world hums, low, steady, endless. Somewhere, water drips from a rock face. Somewhere else, a small creature scurries through the undergrowth, living its own quiet life, completely unaware that someday creatures like you will name it, study it, and build documentaries about its sleeping habits. The darkness isn't empty. It's full of things that crawl, things that hunt, things that breathe. Your eyes, slowly adjusting, start to pick out shapes. The curve of a tree trunk, the gleam of wet moss, the faint shimmer of a distant river. The world was never still, you realize. We just stopped noticing once we filled it with noise and light. Your stomach growls loudly. Even that sound seems to echo. The first humans survived mostly on roots, fruits, and the occasional lucky hunt. But tonight, there's no luck. Only the faint smell of decay drifting from somewhere close. Maybe an old kill. Maybe something waiting for scavengers. You remember oddly the smell of cooking from your own world. Bread, oil, warmth. The memory feels almost cruel here. You press your face into your arms, trying not to think about it. The cold deepens. Dew beads on your hair. The night stretches, unbroken and merciless. The human mind wasn't made for this kind of darkness. It fills the void with imagination. Shapes become faces. Shadows move when they shouldn't. You could swear the trees whisper, "This is where fear was born." Right here, in nights like this. Fear wasn't weakness. It was a survival tool. It kept early humans awake long enough to see the dawn. Some neuroscientists think our modern anxiety comes from these same instincts, just misplaced. Our ancestors feared the dark. We fear unread emails. But here, in this ancient night, fear is a gift. It keeps you alive. You curl tighter, feeling the vibrations of distant thunder roll through the ground. A storm is forming, low clouds swallowing the stars. The air shifts, cool and electric. You look up just in time to see a flash of light across the horizon. For a split second, the world ignites. Trees, hills, the distant glimmer of animal eyes, all revealed by lightning. And then darkness again. That brief flare burns into your memory. Light, even for a heartbeat, feels holy. Maybe this is where it began. The fascination with the glow, the spark, the fleeting safety that brightness brings. Some historians still debate whether humans first learned fire from storms like this or from natural lava flows, but they all agree it must have felt like a miracle. Another flash, then another. Rain starts to fall, heavy and cold. You press yourself under the fallen log, trying to stay dry, but it's useless. The sky opens, and soon everything is soaked. The soil turns to mud, cold biting at your skin. Still, you can't help but look up every time the lightning strikes, chasing that spark like it's a promise. In that storm, in that chaos, something changes. Maybe in your heart, maybe in your species. The longing for light takes root. You start to dream, not of food, not of safety, but of warmth. A steady glow that would keep the night away. The rain eases. The thunder rolls further off. The night breathes again, calmer, almost forgiving. You close your eyes, exhausted, shivering, but alive. The ground beneath you steams faintly where the lightning struck a tree. You don't know it yet, But in that tree's charred heart lies the beginning of everything that will come, the first ember, waiting for someone brave enough to reach for it. And for the first time tonight, you think, maybe that someone could be you. The storm has passed, but the air still tastes of smoke and wet soil. You lie there for a while, listening to the water drip from the trees, half asleep, half frozen. When you finally push yourself up, dawn hasn't come. The world is soaked and silent, except for the occasional crack of a distant branch. And then you smell it. Not rain, not rot, something else, something alive. It's faint, animal sweet and musky, and it makes the small hairs on your arms stand up. You're not alone. The forest has changed with the night. During the day, it felt almost friendly. Buzzing insects, birds calling, the rustle of leaves. But now, everything that moves seems to have teeth. The things that ruled the night are out again, and you've stumbled right into their territory. You crouch low, scanning the tree line. There's movement in the mist, a shifting shadow, almost soundless. Another flash of lightning in the distance gives you a single frame of clarity. Two lean shapes, low to the ground, with long tails and eyes that catch the light like molten gold. Big cats. Prehistoric ones. Maybe something like a saber-tooth or its smaller cousin. Hunters. Your heart thuds so hard it feels like they could track you by that alone. You freeze, instinctively holding your breath. You think about how fragile you are here. No fur, no claws, no armor, no phone to call anyone for help. Just skin and bones and hope. You move as quietly as you can, stepping backward into the thicker brush, trying to become nothing more than part of the landscape. It's a strategy older than words. Stillness. Every prey animal knows it. Humans once did too. The predators circle, their movements patient, methodical. They don't rush. Why should they? The night belongs to them. You feel the ground tremble slightly as one of them steps closer, the weight of its body pressing into the earth. You grip a branch, but it's too thin. You could swing it, sure, but that's more for your own courage than defense. And then a sound, deep and rumbling, like a growl turned into thunder. But it's not coming from the cats. It's from somewhere else. Another animal, bigger. The cats freeze, ears forward. You can't see the newcomer yet, but the reaction tells you enough. This new creature is higher on the food chain. The air thickens with tension. You slowly back away, step by step, until your heel hits a rock and you almost stumble. The cats glance in your direction, but their attention flicks back to whatever's coming through the fog. A massive shape emerges, a shadow among shadows. Four-legged, wide-shouldered, breathing in heavy, steaming gusts. A cave bear, maybe, or something close. Its smell hits you before its size does. Rank, ancient, overwhelming. The cats vanish into the trees, silent and swift, like smoke being drawn back into the dark. You don't move. You barely even blink. The bear sniffs the air, grunts, then lowers its head toward a nearby log. It's looking for grubs, tearing into the wood with one effortless swipe of its paw. The sound of splintering bark echoes through the clearing. This is how most of prehistory worked, not in epic duels or cinematic chases, but in long, quiet standoffs. Survival wasn't about strength. It was about timing, knowing when to be still, when to vanish, when to wait until the night forgets about you. You stay frozen for minutes that feel like hours, until finally the bear lumbers away, vanishing into the mist like a ghost retreating from dawn. You exhale, a shaky, half-sobbing sound that bogs in the cool air. The forest starts to move again, almost like it's waking up after holding its breath. Crickets resume their song. A distant owl hoots. Even the wind starts to whisper through the leaves again. You're alive, somehow. You sink down beside a fallen tree, your muscles trembling from exhaustion. The adrenaline crashes, leaving behind only the dull ache of fear and the slow rhythm of your breathing. The first humans knew this kind of exhaustion. Their lives were a cycle of panic and stillness, movement and waiting. Every night tested them, and those who survived learned how to read the signs. The wind, the silence, the patterns of animal calls. Over generations, that instinct became something like intuition. Historians still debate when early humans began to form this deeper understanding of their environment, whether it was learned behavior or something genetic passed down through survival. But one thing certain, fear was their teacher. You glance toward the burned tree from last night's lightning strike. The rain has left it smoking gently, a thin thread of gray rising from a blackened limb. There's a faint orange pulse deep in the wood, not flame exactly, but ember, barely alive. You step closer, drawn to it the way a moth might be drawn to a candle. Heat radiates faintly, just enough to feel against your cold fingers. It's mesmerizing, the color, the warmth, the quiet defiance of that little glow in all this darkness. You crouch near it, shielding it instinctively with your hands. For the first time, you're not running from the night, you're confronting it. You wonder if the first humans felt this same fascination, this pull toward the light. To them, it must have looked like magic, the raw power of the world trapped inside a tree. Dangerous, yes, but irresistible. You touch the edge of the charred wood and recoil instantly. It burns your fingertip, a tiny sting, but it leaves a mark. Proof that the light can hurt. Still, you stay there, watching it breathe. Smoke curls upward, thin and fragile. The ember flickers, nearly dying out. You lean closer, blowing gently, hoping to coax it alive. Not that you know what you're doing, just instinct. But it works. The glow strengthens, a heartbeat of color pulsing in the dark. And for a moment, everything else disappears. The night, the fear, the hunger, all of it fades. There's only that fragile light and your reflection in it. You realize how strange it feels to see again. Shadows jump and dance across your hands as the ember flares slightly. The warmth is faint but real, wrapping around your fingers like something alive. You could leave it, you probably should. But something in you says no. This tiny, dying glow is the difference between being prey and being human. You sit there, guarding it like a secret. The stars fade slowly as dawn creeps in, pale and cold. The forest softens into color again, green, brown, gold. Somewhere, a bird starts to sing. You survive the night. But more than that, you've seen the thing that will change everything. For now, it's just a flicker in the ashes. But someday, that flicker will light cities, forges, temples, and hearths. It will cook meals, forge weapons, and warm hearts. Someday, it will mean civilization. But right now, it's just you, a burned tree, and a secret too big for words. The forest smells different when the sun rises after rain, damp, green, and oddly clean, as if the night tried to wash away its own sins. You wake stiff and sore beside the blackened tree, the memory of those golden eyes still flickering at the edge of your thoughts. The ember is gone. Only a curl of cold ash remains, delicate as dust. You poke it with a stick, hoping for a spark, but it crumbles into nothing. Still, something's changed. You've seen light, not the distant kind that falls from the sky, but the kind that lives and breathes right here on Earth. You can't unsee it now. Your stomach growls again. The same low protest from a body built for survival, not philosophy. You push yourself up, brush off the dirt, and start moving toward the sound of water. Every breath steams faintly in the cool air. Your footprints squelch in the mud, small signs of your existence in a world that forgets quickly. Then, as the morning fog thins, you see them. Shapes ahead, moving. At first, your brain can't make sense of it. Shadows, tall and bent, shifting in the mist. But then you hear the sound, low voices, rhythmic, not quite language, more like the pulse of meaning trying to be born. People. You freeze. Other humans. For a second, your body doesn't know whether to run toward them or away. You've been alone long enough that the idea of others feels unreal. You crouch behind a fallen branch and watch. There are 6 of them, skin smeared with mud and ash, hair tied in knots or matted with leaves. They move carefully, but with a strange purpose, carrying long sticks sharpened at the end, spears, though crude. One of them, taller than the rest, carries something glowing in his hands. You blink. No, not glowing. Smoldering. Your breath catches. It's fire, not lightning, not an accident. They've kept it alive. You step out before you even realize it. A branch snaps underfoot, and half a dozen heads whip toward you. The reaction is immediate. Spears lift, eyes narrow, feet shift into defensive stances. You raise your hands instinctively. Universal gesture, though maybe too universal for an age before words. The tallest one grunts something, a sound low and guttural, half warning, half question. You stand still, trying to look harmless. Then you point, not at them, but at what he carries. The smoldering branch wrapped in green leaves, still breathing tiny threads of smoke. You point, then touch your chest. You hope they understand. Fire. Me. Please. There's silence. Then one of them, smaller, with quick eyes, laughs. It's not mocking exactly, just amused. He says something to the tall one, who frowns but steps forward, cautiously. He holds the bundle out for you to see. It's beautiful. Inside the nest of damp leaves, a few glowing coals pulse like the hearts of sleeping animals. The smell is rich, sharp wood, faint sweetness, something alive. You can feel the heat even from a step away. You want to reach out, to touch, but the tall one jerks it back with a hiss. His eyes warn you, not yours yet. They huddle around the coals, feeding them bits of bark, blowing softly. You watch, fascinated. They move like priests tending a sacred relic. Careful, reverent. You realize suddenly that this isn't just warmth to them, it's life. The small one plucks a dry branch from the ground and holds it near the ember bundle. The tip smokes, then bursts into a tiny, sputtering flame. The group murmurs in awe as if watching a god awaken. You can't help it. A laugh escapes you, quick and disbelieving. Fire! Real, breathing fire! The sound startles them again, but this time they don't raise their weapons. The tall one studies you for a long moment, then nods. Slow, deliberate. An invitation. You step closer. The warmth hits you like a wave, not just physical, but emotional. You hadn't realized how cold you'd been until now. The fire crackles softly, eating its way through the wood, spitting tiny sparks into the air. Shadows dance over the faces of the others. You see the lines of exhaustion, the faint scars, the bright reflection of flames in wide eyes. For the first time, you feel what it means to belong. You sit near the edge, careful not to reach too close. The small one mimics your position. curious, almost friendly. He says something, a short sound rising at the end like a question. You don't understand, but you nod anyway. He grins, showing small, uneven teeth. It's strange how warmth changes people, how fear melts just enough to make room for trust. They start breaking off chunks of wood and placing them into the fire. You watch how they choose, some pieces thick and damp, others thin and dry. The thin ones catch easily, feeding the flames, while the thick ones smolder, lasting longer. A rhythm forms: feed, wait, breathe. At one point, a spark leaps and lands on your arm. You flinch, brushing it away, but it leaves no mark. The others laugh again, a ripple of sound that feels like acceptance. You study their tools, stones chipped to sharp edges, bones polished from use. One woman, you think she's a woman, though the word hardly fits this time, is scraping the hide of a small animal with a flint blade. Her movements are efficient, practiced. You realize she's using the firelight to see better. That's when it hits you. This changes everything. The night, once filled with fear, can now be used. Humans won't just hide from the dark anymore. They'll work, craft, cook, dream, all because of this flickering miracle. The small one hands you a bit of roasted root, dark on the outside, steaming inside. You take a bite cautiously. It's soft, sweet, smoky. The flavor fills your mouth like warmth itself. You can't help smiling. He grins back, proud of his gift. You sit together in the glow, the group murmuring quietly, the flames painting everything in gold and shadow. The world beyond the circle of light feels far away, like another planet. You realize the fire hasn't just changed the night. It's changed the boundaries of what it means to exist. Some anthropologists believe this moment, the moment humans gathered around fire, was the birth of society. The first shared warmth, the first conversation, the first trust that wasn't born of necessity. Others argue it began later with language or art. But sitting here, this is where it starts. The tall one stirs the embers with a stick, eyes thoughtful. He adds a new branch, watches the sparks rise, and then, for the first time, he looks up at the sky. The stars reflect in his eyes. Maybe he's wondering what they are. Maybe he's wondering if they burn like this. The fire crackles on, steady and alive, its rhythm matching the beat of your heart. You think about how fragile it is, how easily it could die, how much it demands care. You realize it's not just a tool, it's a relationship. You don't know it yet, but this moment, this quiet circle of faces in the glow, will echo for tens of thousands of years. Around every hearth, every camp, every fireplace, humans will gather and feel this same warmth. And somewhere deep down, they'll remember this first flicker of hope. The fire is still burning when the next night falls, and you finally understand what it means to fear losing something you've only just begun to have. All day, the tribe, your new companions, has been tending the flames like a fragile living creature. You've watched them take turns feeding it, blowing softly on the embers when the wind dips too low. Even the smallest children seem to understand. This isn't a toy. It's survival. Now the sky is dimming again, that deep indigo hour when shadows stretch and the first stars blink awake. The forest begins to speak in its nocturnal language. Crickets, frogs, the distant cry of something you hope is far away. The tribe gathers close to the fire, tightening their circle. You sit beside the small one. Let's call him Tanu. His hands are dark with soot, but his grin flashes every time the flames flare high. Across from you, the tall one, the leader maybe, keeps a watchful eye on the fire, occasionally glancing toward the trees. His name, you've gathered, sounds like Karu. He's the kind of man who says little but sees everything. The warmth of the fire feels like a barrier between worlds. Beyond its reach, the night still belongs to the beasts. Within it, you feel the illusion of safety. But illusions don't last forever. A cold gust sneaks through the trees, scattering embers into the dark. Karu reacts instantly, shielding the flames with his broad hands, muttering something deep and urgent. He gestures sharply at Tanu, who scrambles to pile on more wood. You copy him, adding a branch, but the flames sputter in protest, rain again. You can smell it before you feel it, the sharp metallic tang that always comes first. Lightning flickers faintly beyond the horizon. The memory of the last storm tightens in your chest. Karu barks orders, low and fast. The group moves like a well-rehearsed dance. Two of them rush to grab flat stones and place them around the fire's base. Others pull large leaves and hold them overhead, trying to block the first drops. You help too, fumbling with wet branches, feeling the panic rise as the rain thickens. A hiss. The fire spits, dimming to a dull orange. Tanu lets out a desperate noise, somewhere between a whimper and a growl. He drops to his knees, blowing on the coals, smoke curling around his face. You join him, cupping your hands around the flicker, breathing softly, gently, almost pleading. Come on, stay alive. The rain pounds harder, the smoke stings your eyes. Karu crouches beside you now, pushing more dry leaves into the pit, even using a strip of fur to soak up the runoff. His eyes blaze brighter than the embers themselves. It's strange. This man who could kill a bear with a spear hunched like a parent over a dying child. For a moment, it looks hopeless. Then, against all odds, the faintest thread of flame curls upward, licking through the damp. Tanu gasps. You blow again. Steady, careful. The glow strengthens, splits, catches, and suddenly, light. It bursts to life in a rush of golden heat. The tribe cheers softly, relief washing through the group like a tide. The rain still falls, but the fire holds. You sit back, panting, hands smeared with mud and ash. Karu gives you a single nod. Not gratitude exactly, acknowledgement. You've earned your place in the circle now. As the storm moves east, the air grows warm again, thick with smoke and steam. The tribe huddles close, drying their clothes, muttering stories you can't quite understand. The flames reflect in their eyes like tiny suns. Tanu picks up a charred stick and starts drawing shapes in the dirt. A crude circle, a zigzag, a line of dots. You realize he's marking the path of the fire, from the tree it came from to the hands that now guard it. You watch in fascination as he adds a jagged line above it, maybe lightning. A memory turned into symbol. The first storytelling, maybe. The first map. You wonder what the future anthropologists would say about this moment. Would they call it proto-language? Symbolic cognition? Or would they simply smile and say, this is where imagination began? Historians still debate when humans first began to use symbols to remember events rather than things. But as you watch Tanu press the stick into the dirt, you can feel it, the beginning of history itself. Karu notices your gaze and leans over the drawings. He points to the jagged line, lightning, then to the fire, then to the dark sky. His face is serious. He touches his chest, then yours. You think you understand. Tanu picks up a charred stick and starts drawing shapes in the dirt. A crude circle, a zigzag, a line of dots. You realize he's marking the path of the fire, from the tree it came from to the hands that now guard it. You watch in fascination as he adds a jagged line above it, maybe lightning. A memory turned into symbol. The first storytelling, maybe. the first map. You wonder what the future anthropologists would say about this moment. Would they call it proto-language, symbolic cognition, or would they simply smile and say, this is where imagination began? Historians still debate when humans first began to use symbols to remember events rather than things. But as you watch Tanu press the stick into the dirt, you can feel it, the beginning of history itself. Karu notices your gaze and leans over the drawings. He points to the jagged line, lightning, then to the fire, then to the dark sky. His face is serious. He touches his chest, then yours. You think you understand. The fire doesn't belong to you. It doesn't even belong to him. It belongs to the sky. Borrowed, not made. A gift or a theft. That night, as the fire burns low and the rain fades into mist, you find yourself staring at it differently. You no longer see it as comfort alone. It's power, but power on loan. And power, as every age learns, always comes with rules. Tanu curls up beside the fire, the glow flickering over his sleeping face. Karu sits awake, guarding both the flames and the people. His shadow stretches long behind him, part human, part myth already. You think about how fragile this balance is, how one careless ember could turn the forest to ash, how one gust of wind could plunge you all back into darkness. And yet, despite all that, someone had to carry the light. Before you drift off to sleep, you see Karu reach into the coals with a flat stone and pull out a glowing ember. He wraps it carefully in damp moss and a hollowed piece of bark, sealing it with mud. Then he sets it aside. Insurance. The next day, you'll learn what it's for. For now, you just close your eyes and listen to the fire breathe, steady and alive, a borrowed flame burning in the hands of mortals for the first time. The morning smells of wet earth and wood smoke. Steam curls from the soaked ground, and the forest glitters with beads of water where sunlight pokes through the canopy. The storm is gone, but the memory of it clings to everything, the air, the soil, even the fire which still smolders in the pit like a sleeping heart. Karu rises before the rest. You hear the crunch of his footsteps, the soft clink of stone against stone. When you blink awake, he's crouched by a large rock near the fire, tapping two smaller stones together. The rhythm is patient, almost meditative. Tanu stirs beside you, rubbing his eyes. He sees what Karu is doing and whispers a word you can't quite catch, but it sounds reverent, almost like a name. You sit up, curious. Karu glances at you, then gestures for you to come closer. He holds up the two stones, one gray and rough, the other darker, almost glossy, with sharp edges where it's chipped. He strikes them again, harder this time. Tink! A brief spark flashes in the shadow, then vanishes. You blink. Did that just happen? He does it again. Tink! And there it is, a quick kiss of orange light. Fleeting, but real. Tanu gasps softly, clapping his hands once. Karu smiles, faint but proud. He motions to the old fire pit and the wrapped ember bundled beside it. Then to the stones. You understand what he's trying to say? What if you didn't have to wait for lightning anymore? What if the sky's power could come from your hands? You lean in as he works. He arranges a nest of dry grass, scraped bark, and moss. The smell of resin fills your nose. Then he strikes again, each spark like a tiny heartbeat. Nothing catches. He frowns, adjusts his grip, then tries a new angle. This time, a spark lands perfectly in the grass. Smoke. Karu lowers his head, blowing gently. The smoke thickens, curls, glows. And then, fire. You actually laugh out loud. The sound startled and delighted. Even Tanu jumps to his feet, yelling something triumphantly. Karu sits back, face calm, but his eyes gleam with quiet awe. This isn't just a tool, it's the moment your ancestors began rewriting the rules of survival. Fire, born not of storm or chance, but of choice. You help feed the tiny flame, watching it grow. The air crackles with a strange new confidence. Even the birds seem to pause, sensing a shift in the hierarchy of things. When the rest of the tribe wakes, they crowd around in wonder. Some touch the stones, murmuring. One woman, her hair streaked with white, touches Karu's forehead gently, then lifts the stone skyward as if thanking the heavens. By midday, the small fire has become a roaring one, the center of the camp once again. Karu passes the stones to you. You hesitate, afraid you'll ruin it, but he nods, patient. You mimic his grip, strike once, nothing, again, nothing, then tink. A spark leaps, golden and brief. You can't help but grin. Karu laughs softly, the sound rumbling like gravel. He claps your shoulder. You feel a sudden, absurd pride, like a kid lighting their first match without burning the house down. As the day passes, the tribe experiments. They learn that dry bark burns better than leaves, that certain stones spark hotter than others. They even notice that the fire from stone smells different from lightnings, cleaner somehow, like the earth itself, approving. In the afternoon, they roast something small and gamey over the flames, a lizard maybe. The skin crisps, the fat drips, and the smell is heavenly. You try a bite. It's smoky, chewy, but warm all the way through. For the first time, you taste the comfort of cooked food, and your body hums with gratitude. Scientists would later say cooking changed everything, how our jaws evolved, how our brains grew. But sitting here with grease on your lips and ash on your hands, that theory feels less like science and more like truth you can feel in your bones. The evening falls again, but this time there's no panic. The tribe gathers around the fire not to guard it, but to celebrate it. Laughter ripples through the group. Tanu tosses sticks into the flames just to watch them explode into sparks. Karu carves something from bone, perhaps a tool, perhaps a memory. At one point, he gestures for you to follow him a little away from the camp. You do. He squats near a flat patch of dirt and places one of the dark stones in your hand. Then he picks up a smaller pebble and scratches a rough shape onto the ground, a circle with lines radiating outward. The fire, simplified. He points at it, then to you. Then he points toward the horizon, the direction the sun rises from. He's teaching you something, the connection between the fire and the sun. Two lights, one near, one eternal. You find yourself murmuring, as above, so below, though of course he doesn't understand the words. But somehow he nods anyway, as if he does. The tribe is evolving before your eyes, not just learning how to make fire, but how to think about it, to name it, symbolize it, even revere it. This isn't just survival anymore, it's philosophy in its infancy. As the fire crackles and the night deepens, Tanu curls up beside you again, murmuring a word that sounds like Tala. Maybe it means fire, maybe it means life. You repeat it softly, and he smiles in his sleep. You look at the glowing embers and feel a quiet awe. One day, millennia from now, someone will strike flint on steel or press a button or flip a switch, and this moment will still be alive in that gesture. From spark to civilization, it all starts here. The fire hums like a lullaby now, gentle and low. You watch it until your eyelids grow heavy. The forest is still, peaceful. No predators in sight tonight, just warmth, just light, and in the center of it all, your hands, still smelling faintly of smoke and stone. Morning drifts in like a sigh. A pale fog rolls between the trees, softening everything into a watercolor haze. The fire still breathes, smaller now, but steady. Its smoke spirals upward, pale gray against the green canopy, catching glints of sunlight as it climbs. You stretch, bones creaking, and glance toward the camp. The tribe moves slowly this morning, less tense, more at ease. They've survived another night, but something feels different now. The fire isn't just warmth anymore, it's identity. Karu is already awake, as usual. He's watching the smoke. His eyes follow it the way a hunter tracks prey, focused, thoughtful, almost suspicious. When he catches your gaze, he gestures for you to join him. He points upward at the twisting column, then to his chest. Then, surprisingly, he breathes out a puff of air. Slow, deliberate, mimicking the smoke's rise. You realize he's thinking about it, studying it. You do the same, exhaling softly, watching your breath mix with the smoke. Karu nods, approving. You can almost hear his thoughts, even if you don't understand his words. Fire eats air. Air feeds life. So fire is alive. He reaches into the ashes with a long stick, stirring gently, and you notice how the smoke changes, thickening, thinning, dancing. He leans closer, inhaling carefully. A few others join in, murmuring softly, fascinated. Tanu sits cross-legged beside you, his face smudged with soot, eyes wide. He dips his hand into the smoke and pulls it back quickly, laughing. Then he tries again, slower, letting it swirl through his fingers. It hits you. This is probably the first time humans ever watched smoke not as a warning, but as a mystery, a signal to the sky, a ghost of the fire itself. As the day warms, Karu begins experimenting. He throws different things into the flames, wet leaves, resin, herbs. Each one changes the smoke, its color, its smell, its thickness. Some make it sting your nose, others smell sweet, almost pleasant. Soon the tribe gathers around, curious. They point, sniff, laugh. The children wave their hands through the air, shaping the drifting trails into fleeting creatures, dragons maybe, or spirits. It's mesmerizing. One of the women, her hair woven with feathers, starts to hum softly. The sound rises and falls with the movement of the smoke. It's not a song, not yet, but it's something ancient and intimate. You close your eyes and listen. The rhythm of breath, fire, and sound feels connected, as if the tribe is learning to speak not with words, but with rhythm itself. The smoke rises higher, stretching like a beacon above the forest. For the first time, you wonder if other groups, far away, might see it. If somewhere beyond the trees, another band of humans looks up and says, "What's that?" Maybe smoke was the first form of long-distance communication, before words, before writing, before anything else. Historians still argue about it, of course. Some say early humans used smoke signals to mark territory or call for help. Others think it was purely accidental. But standing here, watching Karu and his people dance with the fire's breath, it's easy to believe they meant it. The smoke isn't just drifting. It's saying something. Later that day, you notice Karu doing something odd. He takes a charred stick from the ashes and drags it across a rock. A faint black mark appears. He tries again, harder this time, longer strokes, looping lines. The others crowd around, murmuring in awe. The air smells of wood and resin. The smoke rises and curls above your heads like a veil, shimmering in the orange light. You lie back on the ground, eyes tracing the way it dissolves into the stars. For a strange, fleeting moment, it feels as if the smoke is a bridge, connecting you to something vast and ancient beyond the treetops, maybe the gods, maybe your own future. Beside you, Tanu whispers a word. You don't understand it, but you repeat it softly anyway. He smiles, and the two of you fall into silence, watching the sky together. The fire crackles, the smoke dances, the night listens, and for the first time you feel the edges between heaven and earth blur, joined by something as fragile and as eternal as a wisp of smoke. The forest feels different tonight. Even before the sun disappears, you can feel the tension creeping in, like the trees themselves are holding their breath. The air is heavy, still, and the usual symphony of insects seems oddly muted. Karu notices it too. He keeps glancing toward the shadows, his hand never far from the sharpened spear resting across his lap. The fire burns bright, but the darkness beyond it feels thicker somehow, as if it's waiting for something. You sit close to Tanu, who's unusually quiet. His small fingers fidget with a piece of bark, his eyes darting toward the edge of the firelight. The other members of the tribe huddle close, whispering softly. You don't need to understand the words. The tone is enough. Something's out there. Karu suddenly lifts a hand. Silence. Even the crackle of fire seems to hush in respect. Then, there it is. A sound from the trees, a low growl, not far, not human. The forest feels different tonight. Even before the sun disappears, you can feel the tension creeping in, like the trees themselves are holding their breath. The air is heavy, still, and the usual symphony of insects seems oddly muted. Karu notices it too. He keeps glancing toward the shadows, his hand never far from the sharpened spear resting across his lap. The fire burns bright, but the darkness beyond it feels thicker somehow, as if it's waiting for something. You sit close to Tanu, who's unusually quiet. His small fingers fidget with a piece of bark, his eyes darting toward the edge of the firelight. The other members of the tribe huddle close, whispering softly. You don't need to understand the words. The tone is enough. Something's out there. Karu suddenly lifts a hand. Silence. Even the crackle of fire seems to hush in respect. Then, there it is. A sound from the trees, a low growl, not far, not human. Tanu whimpers, clutching your arm. The child's heartbeat pounds against your skin, fast and frantic. You tighten your grip on him. Karu signals again, and you understand. Make the fire bigger. You scramble with the others, tossing on dry wood, grass, anything that burns. The flames leap higher, crackling furiously. The shadows retreat for a moment, but the cat doesn't leave. It prowls along the edge of the light, testing the boundary. You can see it clearly now, muscles rippling, eyes like molten gold. It's beautiful in a way that makes you feel small, insignificant. This was the original competition for dominance. You realize suddenly you're not the apex predator here. Karu picks up a burning branch and steps forward, shouting, a sharp, guttural sound that pierces the night. The tribe joins in, a chorus of fear and fury. You add your voice too, though it shakes in your throat. The cat pauses, its ears twitch. For a long moment, it seems to weigh the odds. Firelight dances across its fur, casting shadows that stretch like ghosts. Then, with a deep snarl, it turns and melts into the trees. The tension breaks all at once. The tribe exhales in relief. Someone laughs nervously. Someone else starts crying softly. Kapru lowers the torch, his face unreadable in the flickering glow. He scans the dark one last time before nodding. The fire is your wall, and tonight it held. You sit down slowly, heart still hammering, the adrenaline buzzing through your limbs. Tanu crawls into your lap, trembling. You hold him close, feeling the shared relief. The fire pops, sending up a spray of sparks that drift like tiny stars. It strikes you how fragile this safety really is. Without fire, the night wins every time. As calm returns, Karu takes a stick and draws something in the dirt again. This time it's not art, it's strategy. He sketches circles for the camp, marks the outer edges with little dots, torches maybe, and makes sweeping gestures to show the beast's path. He's planning, adapting. You realize you're witnessing not just survival, but tactical thinking. The tribe murmurs agreement. By the next evening, they've built small fires in a wider ring around the main camp, smoky little sentinels to guard the night. The effect is mesmerizing, a constellation of flame on earth. And it works. The predators stay away, even the insects avoid the smoky zone. For the first time, you can breathe easily in the dark. Karu sits beside you, staring into the central fire. His eyes reflect the flames, two bright mirrors of the power he now commands. He doesn't smile, but you sense something new in his posture. Pride, maybe? Ownership? You think of how, just a few nights ago, this same fire was something borrowed from the heavens. Now, it's a weapon. Historians would later call this moment a turning point in ecological dominance. But that sounds sterile, clinical. What it really is, what you feel, is defiance. Humanity's first whispered no to the darkness. The tribe begins to sleep easier, wrapped in warmth and light. You too finally drift off, the memory of golden eyes fading into smoke. But as you dream, you can't help but wonder what happens when fire gives you too much power. You'll find out soon enough. The next day dawns quiet, too quiet. The birds that usually fill the morning with chatter are gone, replaced by the faint hiss of wind slipping through damp leaves. The air smells wrong, sharp, dry, almost metallic. Karu notices first. He stands at the edge of camp, nostrils flaring like an animal sensing danger. Then you smell it too. Smoke. But not from your fires. This one is different, distant, wild, feral. You climb the nearest rise and look beyond the trees. In the far distance, a dark smear stains the horizon. Smoke billows upward, thick and angry, the color of storm clouds. Something's burning. The tribe gathers behind you, murmuring anxiously. Karu watches the smoke for a long time before speaking. You can't understand the words, but the meaning is clear. It's spreading. The next day dawns quiet, too quiet. The birds that usually fill the morning with chatter are gone, replaced by the faint hiss of wind slipping through damp leaves. The air smells wrong, sharp, dry, almost metallic. Karu notices first. He stands at the edge of camp, nostrils flaring like an animal sensing danger. Then you smell it too. Smoke, but not from your fires. This one is different, distant, wild, feral. You climb the nearest rise and look beyond the trees. In the far distance, a dark smear stains the horizon. Smoke billows upward, thick and angry, the color of storm clouds. Something's burning. The tribe gathers behind you, murmuring anxiously. Karu watches the smoke for a long time before speaking. You can't understand the words, but the meaning is clear. It's spreading. You feel it in your bones, the unease, the recognition. The same thing that gave you safety could take everything else away. As the day heats, a faint wind picks up, carrying ash. Tiny black flecks drift through the air, landing on your arms, on Tanu's face. He wipes them off, confused. The adults exchange worried glances. Karu orders the tribe to move. Quickly, you gather what you can. Tools, embers, food wrapped in leaves. The group moves fast through the undergrowth, firelight flickering faintly behind your eyes, even though the sun is high. The smell of smoke thickens. You can't tell if it's from behind you or ahead. After an hour of marching, you see it, first as a glow between the trees, then as a wall of orange and black. The forest burns. It's not the gentle dance of your campfire, it's a living monster. Flames crawl up tree trunks, leap from branch to branch. The sound is deafening, a deep, constant roar. Heat presses against your face, even from hundreds of steps away. The tribe stops, stunned. Some cry out. Karu holds up a hand. Stay calm. His eyes dart, searching for a way around. But the fire moves fast, too fast. You think back to last night, the way you'd celebrated your ring of fires, proud of your mastery. The irony bites deep. You've stolen power from the gods, yes, but it doesn't obey you yet. Tanu tugs at your arm. His voice trembles. He points toward a patch of open ground, a rocky rise, less covered by trees. Karu sees it too and signals everyone to move. The heat grows unbearable as you run. Smoke fills your lungs, stinging your throat and eyes. The fire crackles louder, closer. Sparks rain down like burning snow. You stumble, coughing, clutching Tanu's hand. You can barely breathe by the time you reach the clearing. Karu and the others start clearing brush, beating down the dry grass with branches, creating a wide circle of bare earth. You follow their lead, realizing what they're doing, building a fire break. No one's taught them this. They're figuring it out instinctively, as if survival itself is whispering instructions in their blood. When the flames reach the edge of the clearing, they falter, then split around you, crawling along the ground but unable to cross the bare dirt. The air trembles with heat, but the worst passes by. Hours later, when the fire finally weakens and dies, the forest beyond is unrecognizable. Blackened trunks stretch into the distance. The sky is gray and heavy, littered with drifting ash. The tribe moves through the aftermath in silence. Every step crunches over charred wood. The smell of burned sap and scorched soil clings to everything, and yet, amid the devastation, life glimmers. Katru kneels and points at something near the base of a fallen tree, a cluster of pale shoots pushing through the ash. You blink. New growth already? He touches the tiny leaves gently, then looks at you with an expression that says it all. Destruction, yes, but also renewal. The tribe gathers around, whispering in awe. Someone begins to hum again, the same soft rhythm from before, now lower, slower, almost mournful. You close your eyes and let the sound wash over you. It's strange how grief and gratitude can live in the same breath. When night comes, the camp is quiet. The fire you build is small this time, cautious. Its light flickers weakly against the darkness. No laughter, no dancing, just tired eyes reflecting the flames. Karu sits apart, sharpening his spear in the dim glow. You can see the reflection of the burning forest still haunting his gaze. Eventually, he picks up a piece of charcoal and begins to draw again. This time, not spirals or circles, but jagged lines. The fire consuming everything. You wonder if this is the first warning in human history, a record not just of what was, but what must not happen again. Tanu sits beside him, watching silently. When Karu finishes, the child takes the charcoal and adds a small circle above the chaos, a sun perhaps, or a new spark. Karu stares at it for a long time, then smiles, faintly. The message is simple, even if unspoken. Fire destroys, but it also brings life. That night, as you lie under the stars, the smell of smoke still in your hair, you think about how thin the line is between creation and ruin. You can't help but feel a quiet respect for this power, and a whisper of fear that humanity might never truly control it. Still, the embers glow softly nearby. steady and alive. And against all odds, you feel a fragile peace. The world after the fire feels new, not better, not worse, just changed. For days, the tribe wanders through the blackened landscape, quiet as ghosts. The earth is soft beneath your feet, blanketed in fine gray ash. Each step releases tiny puffs that rise like whispers of what used to be. You'd think everything would be dead, but life is stubborn. Green shoots push through the soot. Insects crawl from hidden burrows. Birds return, cautious but curious. You watch Karu study all of it, the way the forest seems to be rebuilding itself. His eyes glint with a strange mix of sorrow and curiosity. This place, once full of fear, is now a classroom. The tribe has changed, too. Since the Great Fire, their relationship with flame has become more deliberate, more reverent. Fires are smaller now, controlled, watched closely. Even Tanu, once careless, all joy and play, moves with new respect when feeding the embers. You notice how Karu begins using the ashes. At first, accidentally, he covers a cut on his arm with gray dust to stop the bleeding. Later, he deliberately mixes ash with animal fat, smearing the paste on his skin. When he offers some to you, you hesitate, then follow. It's gritty, cool, oddly soothing. The smell isn't pleasant, but it feels protective. You realize it is protective. The insects stop biting where the mixture covers your arms. The tribe murmurs with approval, copying the act. Within hours, everyone's streaked with pale gray lines and smudges like ritual war paint. It's not fashion, it's chemistry. Somewhere in the deep timeline of humanity, you suspect someone just invented bug repellent. The next discovery comes by accident, too. Karu tosses a half-burnt branch into the river to clean it. Later, when he retrieves it, the end is black and crumbly. But it leaves bold marks when dragged across a rock. He hands it to Tanu, who immediately begins drawing. But these new marks are darker, richer, smoother than before. The tribe gathers whispering as Tanu sketches shapes, circles, stick figures, a rough animal. You recognize it instantly. Charcoal. What began as ruin has become art's perfect tool. You can't help but marvel at the irony. Humanity's first great disaster, the wildfire, has given birth to something enduring, pigment, medicine, understanding. Later, as the sun dips low, Karu sits near the river with the blackened stick and begins drawing carefully on a flat slab of stone. His lines are patient, purposeful. You watch as an image emerges, a spiral at the center, fire, lines radiating outward, smoke maybe, and smaller figures encircling it, the tribe. It's a story told without words, the first record of human memory. When he finishes, Karu looks up at you. He points to the drawing, then to the setting sun. The message is clear. What fades can also be reborn. Night comes, soft and windless. The tribe builds a small, careful fire. No one speaks for a long time. The air smells of ash and rebirth. You lie back and watch the stars appear, one by one, through the haze. After a while, Tanu breaks the silence. He picks up a charred stick and begins sketching in the dirt again, copying Karu's drawing. But this time, he adds something new. Small dots in the sky above the fire. Stars. You realize what he's doing, connecting heaven and earth again, the same way Karu once pointed from the fire to the sun, the fire on earth, the fire above. Two mirrors reflecting each other. Maybe that's what early humans always felt, that the flames they nurtured were a piece of the cosmos, a little shard of the stars themselves brought down to their world. You feel a chill not from the cold, but from awe. Somewhere deep inside you, a memory stirs, a cosmic truth whispered through millennia. We are made of the same fire. Later that night, Karu experiments again. He places a large stone near the fire, watching it heat until it glows faintly. Then he drops it into a water-filled pit. The hiss and steam make the tribe jump back in alarm, but when Karu touches the water, it's warm, not boiling. He gestures for you to try. You dip your fingers in. It's perfect, comforting. You glance at him, realization dawning. You're watching humanity's first hot bath. The tribe laughs and cheers as they gather around, splashing the warm water. The tension of the past days melts into something lighter. Even Tanu giggles again, his soot-streaked face bright with joy. Karu sits back, satisfied. You catch the faintest smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. You can feel the shift. Fire is no longer just survival. It's innovation. Tool, comfort, paintbrush, healer. The smoke that once choked you now carries the smell of cooking meat. The ash that coated your skin now guards you from insects. The charcoal that marked tragedy now tells stories. It's all one lesson. The same force that destroys can also create, if you're clever enough to listen. As the fire burns low, Karu presses his hand into the ash, then onto the stone beside him, leaving a perfect handprint. Tanu does the same, and then another, smaller one beside his. One by one, the tribe joins in until the rock is covered in overlapping hands, dark marks reaching through time. It's more than a record. It's a promise. You press your own hand into the ash and add your print to the stone. It fits among theirs perfectly. The fire crackles softly. The stars blink above, and for a fleeting moment, you feel like part of the oldest family in the world. Tomorrow, the forest will still smell of smoke, the sky still gray, but you know now that life grows best in the ruins of what it's learned to survive. The smoke has cleared. The forest is green again. You're crouched beside Karu, watching him coax a small flame from a spark. It's become routine now, no longer a miracle, but something closer to ritual. Everyone knows their role. Some gather dry bark, others feed the first twigs, others guard the fire like it's a fragile heartbeat. But this time, something is different. Karu doesn't move to smother the flame when it grows. He shields it from the wind with his hands, feeds it steadily, and then he begins to build a ring of stones around it. The gesture feels deliberate, ceremonial. When the stones are set, he sits back. You recognize what's happening before anyone else. The tribe is watching the birth of the first hearth. It's not just a fire pit, it's a boundary. Fire now has a home. That night, no one wanders too far. The hearth glows in the center of the clearing, a quiet pulse of orange and gold. The tribe gathers close, eating, talking, grooming one another. The sound of crackling wood blends with soft laughter. For the first time, the forest beyond feels truly separate, like the outside world is fading behind a curtain of warmth and light. The hearth becomes an anchor. Before, fire had been fleeting, built and abandoned, scattered by rain or fear. But this one remains. Karu tends to it through the night, adding wood at intervals, never letting it die. By morning, there's a new word whispered among the tribe. You don't know the sound of it, but you understand its meaning. Home. The concept feels heavy, profound. For the first time, survival isn't just about movement. It's about staying. Days pass. The hearth becomes the heart of everything. Meals happen around it, stories unfold beside it, and arguments end with someone poking the embers in frustrated silence. Even children are drawn to it. You watch them sit and stare at the flames the way modern kids might stare at a screen. They see shapes in the smoke, animals, faces, dreams. It's hypnotic. At night, when you lie near the glow, you realize how much quieter your fear has become. The dark doesn't feel endless anymore. The light has boundaries now, yes, but those boundaries comfort you. Beyond them is the wild, the unknown. Within them, warmth and safety. You understand something profound. Fire has turned space into place. As the days grow colder, the tribe starts using stones heated in the fire to keep warm at night. They wrap them in leaves, tuck them near their bodies as they sleep. One night, Tanu tosses his warm stone into the pile of furs you share. You laugh softly. It's surprisingly cozy. Soon, others copy him. The air smells faintly of smoke and pine resin, and the night chill no longer bites as hard. You realize you're living through the first experiment in central heating. The tribe's bond deepens. With warmth and safety come new things, stories, play, even imagination. Tanu starts inventing games, drawing lines in the dirt and daring others to hop over them while the firelight flickers. Karu hums low melodies that the others pick up, their voices merging into something hauntingly human. It's music, primitive, untrained, but full of emotion. The hearth is shaping not just your world, but your minds. There's something else, too, something subtle. When Karu cooks meat over the flames, the smell draws animals close. Wolves linger at the edge of the light, not in aggression, but curiosity. At first, everyone tenses, gripping stones and sticks. But then, one night, a wolf stays. It's small, thin, with a limp. Karu tosses it a scrap of bone. The animal flinches, snatches it, then remains. No one speaks. You sit, hardly breathing, watching the wolf's eyes catch the firelight. The next morning, it's still there. You don't know it yet, but this moment will echo through thousands of years. The first spark of domestication, drawn fittingly to the first hearth. Weeks pass. Rain comes and goes, but the hearth stays alive. The tribe builds a crude shelter of branches above it to keep it dry. You marvel at the ingenuity. Karu has effectively built a chimney before the word existed. He begins lining the pit with clay from the riverbank. When it dries, it hardens, forming a smooth bowl. It burns hotter, cleaner. Fire evolves. Karu tests new materials, different woods, animal dung, dried moss. You watch him experiment with patience that feels almost scientific. Some smokes repel insects better. Others keep embers alive longer. It's no longer magic. It's research. The tribe thrives. With heat and safety come longer nights of wakefulness. People talk more, share memories, laugh over shared food. Time stretches. You notice that when people gather around the fire, they seem to remember things better. Perhaps warmth keeps the brain alert. Or perhaps, as modern researchers might say, communal storytelling itself enhances memory retention. You chuckle at the thought. You, an accidental witness to the birth of culture, sitting cross-legged with soot on your face, pretending you belong. But you do belong. One night, Tanu curls beside you and points to the sky. He traces constellations with his finger, patterns of light reflected in the fire's glow. You recognize the same symbols from his drawings on the cave walls. He whispers something that sounds like fire above, fire below. You smile. Even now, across 100,000 years, the metaphor holds. At dawn, Karu makes another innovation. He digs a smaller pit beside the hearth and lines it with hot stones, placing food inside before covering it with earth. Hours later, he unearths the meat, soft, fragrant, tender. The tribe stares in awe. You can't help laughing. You're watching humanity's first slow cooker. The meal is rich, smoky, delicious. Laughter fills the clearing, echoing through the trees. For the first time, the tribe doesn't look hungry. They look content. The fire's no longer something to fear or fight. It's a companion, a teacher. As night falls again, Karu sits by the glowing pit, his face flickering with light and shadow. He seems older somehow, wiser. You realize he's thinking ahead, planning. The fire crackles softly as he stirs it with a stick. The sparks rise into the darkness like tiny stars. He watches them fade and murmurs something, soft, reverent. You don't understand the words, but you can guess their meaning. A thank you. To the fire, to the world, maybe even to the chaos that birthed both. You look around, the tribe huddled close, the wolf sleeping nearby, the embers glowing steady. The air feels thick with warmth, smoke, and quiet gratitude. For the first time in all your wandering, you feel still, safe. Maybe that's what home really is, not walls or roofs, but the steady, living heartbeat of a fire that never goes out. Morning comes soft and gray. The air smells of damp earth, ash, and roasted meat. The hearth still smolders, a sleeping dragon beneath its bed of coals. You stretch, feeling the slow warmth creep into your fingers. The world is quiet, except for the soft snore of the wolf curled beside Karu. You don't yet know it, but today you'll witness another transformation, one that will change not just your tribe, but the very bodies of your species. Fire has already given warmth, light, safety. Now it will begin to change flesh itself, your flesh. Karu rises early. He's been experimenting again, poking charred bones, cracking them open, and examining the inside. The marrow glistens in the morning light. He gestures for you to watch as he drops a few pieces into the coals. There's a faint sizzle, a hiss of fat, then an aroma that makes your stomach tighten. When he hands you a piece, it's warm, soft, buttery. You bite, and your body reacts before your mind does. This is good. Easier to chew, easier to digest. Karu grins, teeth flashing white against the soot. The tribe gathers, drawn by the smell, and soon everyone is crouched around the hearth, hands extended, mouths watering. The fire has transformed raw into tender, danger into delight. By midday, the camp hums with energy. People laugh more, work faster. Karu, always observant, notices too. He gestures, pats his belly, points to the fire, then to his arms. Stronger. You realize what's happening. Cooking is evolution's quiet revolution. Later, Karu decides to test what else fire can do. He lays out roots, tubers, and mushrooms, some of which were once avoided because they made the stomach twist and churn. Carefully, he places them near the edge of the fire, watching closely. When the smell shifts, sweet instead of bitter, he pulls them out. You can tell he's guessing, but also learning. He offers one to Tanu. The boy hesitates, sniffs it, then takes a bite. His face brightens. He's fine. The tribe erupts in chatter, laughter, relief. Karu beams. In the simplest terms, he's just invented the concept of cooking vegetables. Over the next few days, the menu expands. Meat, roots, seeds, all transformed by heat. Even insects. You cringe at first when Tanu roasts a handful of beetles over the coals, but when he hands you one, crispy, nutty, surprisingly flavorful, you find yourself grinning. You're witnessing the dawn of cuisine. And yet, it's more than just flavor. Fire has given time. Before, the tribe spent hours tearing through raw sinew and gristle, gnawing for sustenance. Now, meals are quick, shared, almost social. There's conversation, rudimentary but real. Gestures, laughter, stories. With cooking comes community. With community comes language. It's subtle, but you feel it. The cadence of sounds changing, rhythms forming, patterns repeating. It's not speech as you know it, but it's something older, something foundational. The birth of shared meaning. As dusk falls, Karu sets another experiment in motion. He builds 2 fires, one large, one small. The large one cooks meat for the tribe. The smaller one he tends carefully, feeding it bones and stones and bits of fat. You watch as smoke thickens, swirling like incense. He waves his hand through it, then presses his palm to his face. His expression shifts, calm, focused. You follow, hesitating, then mimic the gesture. The smoke stings your eyes, but something else happens. The smell, the warmth, the rhythmic crackle, it all blends into a kind of trance. You understand suddenly why humans have always found fire hypnotic. It's not just the light, it's the rhythm. Every pop and sigh feels like a heartbeat, a pulse you could fall asleep to. The tribe begins to hum softly. The sound rises, falls, mingling with the fire's own song. You close your eyes. The air feels thick with something invisible yet ancient. Connection, maybe, or the first glimmer of what later generations will call spirit. Karu's expression is serene. He seems to sense it, too. He isn't just tending a fire anymore, he's conducting a ritual. Historians will later debate this, whether early humans attached spiritual meaning to fire before they had language, or if the awe came later. But here, in the orange glow, the answer feels obvious. Fire isn't just survival, it's sacred. The next morning, the wolf returns from a hunt with something clutched in its jaws, a chunk of charred bone. It drops it beside Karu and sits expectantly, tail thumping. Karu laughs, a deep, surprised sound, and tosses the wolf a cooked scrap. The animal devours it, then stays. You realize the hearth has tamed more than the wild. It's softened hearts, drawn together species that once feared each other. The wolf curls beside the fire, sighs, and sleeps. That night, when Karu rests his hand on its fur, you swear you see the first spark of affection flicker in his eyes. Something beyond survival. Trust. Companionship. Fire has made the night not only safe, but warm in a deeper sense. You lean back, watching the stars flicker through the canopy. The firelight dances across the faces around you, soot-streaked, scarred, alive. You think of how far they've come, from shivering in caves to cooking meals, taming beasts, drawing stories. Fire has changed their food, their bodies, their minds. Even the way they sleep has evolved. You notice that the tribe now rests in 2 waves, some awake, tending the fire, others asleep. Then they switch. There's always someone watching, always someone dreaming. In the future, scientists will call this segmented sleep, a pattern that shaped early human circadian rhythms. But here, it's just instinct. You listen to the quiet murmur of those awake, the low talk, the crackle of coals, the soft breath of the sleeping wolf. The night hums with life, and in that hum you hear it again, the sound of becoming. Fire is changing everything, molding not just flesh, but thought, memory, possibility. You take one last bite of roasted marrow, its flavor rich and primal. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you imagine what future humans will call this moment, the invention of dinner. The tribe laughs softly, shadows dancing around the hearth. Karu leans back, gazing at the stars, smoke curling upward like a bridge to the heavens. You follow his gaze, feeling the warmth seep into your skin. your bones, your story. For the first time, you don't just survive the night, you savor it. A portable flame, you hold your breath as he walks with it, careful, reverent, testing how far the ember can travel. It lasts. When he reaches the riverbank, he kneels, opens the bundle, and feeds it air. A faint flicker ignites. The tribe cheers softly. Karu just nods. Pleased, you realize you've witnessed another revolution. Fire no longer belongs to place. It belongs to people. A few days later, Karu chooses 2 younger members to guard the fire whenever the tribe moves. They carry it in turns, wrapped in green leaves, sheltered inside a hollowed horn. They're the fire keepers. It sounds ceremonial, but it's practical too. If the fire goes out during travel, it can take hours, sometimes days, to reignite it from scratch. The fire keepers ensure that warmth, protection, and light move with the tribe like a living companion. You notice how the others treat them, with respect, even awe. When they arrive in a new place and set the ember down, people wait silently for the first flame to bloom. It feels like a small sunrise, a promise renewed. The fire keepers are trusted, watched, envied. You can sense pride in their eyes. They don't just carry flame, they carry continuity. One night, as rain begins to fall, Karu calls you and the fire keepers beneath a rocky overhang. The storm hammers the forest, wind shrieking through the branches. Everyone huddles close, watching the fire sputter. Karu acts fast. He scoops the glowing coals into a stone bowl, covers it with wet clay, and slides it into the ashes. The fire vanishes, smothered. You panic. He's killed it. But when morning comes and he scrapes away the gray crust, a red glow pulses beneath. Still alive. Karu grins at you, triumphant. The tribe gasps. You can almost hear the whisper passing through them. He hid the fire inside the earth, and it lived. It feels magical, but you know it's science. Smothering reduces oxygen, slowing combustion. The first lesson in fire preservation. Karu has discovered not only how to carry fire, but how to store it. You realize what this means. Humanity has its first battery. Days pass. The tribe begins to assign specific roles around the hearth. Some gather fuel, others guard the flame, others prepare food. You start noticing something fascinating. Rhythms forming, habits repeating. The fire cycle dictates life. Morning rekindling, midday cooking, evening warmth, night watch. In a way, time itself has been born here. You see how it changes the people. With predictable warmth and light, they sleep in patterns, plan ahead, even anticipate. Karu watches them closely, approvingly. His mind always seems one step beyond, already chasing the next idea. Then one afternoon, while the tribe rests, Karu experiments again. He places a line of dry moss leading from one fire to another, lights one end, and watches the flame travel across. It's controlled, steady, beautiful. The tribe stares, transfixed. He's teaching them how to spread fire intentionally, not just preserve it. In modern terms, he's building the first infrastructure. You laugh quietly at the thought. Prehistoric logistics, complete with glowing supply lines. That night, when the forest is quiet and the fire hums low, Karu speaks softly to the firekeepers. You can't understand every gesture, but you sense the gravity. He points at the flame, then at them, then at the sky. You realize what he's saying. This is sacred duty. They nod solemnly. When they sleep, they keep the ember bowl beside them like a child. You find yourself strangely moved. Fire, once an accident, now has priests. The seasons shift. The nights grow longer, colder. The fire burns hotter, hungrier. You notice how the firekeepers start rationing fuel, breaking branches carefully, even building small windbreaks to shield the flame. They're engineers now, adapting to environment. And you? You've begun to see the pattern beneath all of it. Every act of survival is an act of invention. Every adjustment, a step toward civilization. The warmth on your skin isn't just heat, it's momentum. One evening, as frost glitters on the grass, Karu sits beside you. He gestures toward the fire, then to the stars above. You've seen him do this before, but this time he adds something new. He draws a line between them in the air. You think you understand. Fire on earth, fire in the sky, connected by human will. You whisper under your breath, "We keep the stars alive down here." Karu glances at you and smiles faintly, as if he heard. When morning comes, you awaken to a gentle hum. The firekeepers are singing, a low, rhythmic sound. Their voices rise and fall with the crackle of flame. The others join in, hands pressed to the ground. It's not quite language, not yet, but it's ritual. You realize this is how myth is born, not from explanation, but from reverence. The tribe doesn't understand why fire lives, but they feel its mystery. So they sing. And you, caught in the middle of history and dream, hum along quietly. The fire glows golden, the sun climbs slowly, and the first faint smoke of human memory drifts into the morning sky. Somewhere, a new idea is already forming, an ember inside the ember. Maybe Karu will learn not just to keep fire, but to create it. The morning begins with frost on every leaf. Your breath clouds in front of you, white and soft, like smoke. The fire from last night has burned down to a faint glow. The tribe stirs slowly, shivering, reaching for warmth. Karu crouches near the hearth, blowing gently on the embers. But this time, the red glow doesn't brighten. He frowns. The firekeepers check their bundles. Empty, cold. The ember bowls are gray and lifeless. For the first time in months, the tribe has no fire. The silence that follows is heavy, almost reverent. Then the cold starts to bite. Karu stands, his expression hardening. He looks toward the horizon, toward the place where the sun is rising, and gestures. It's time to find flame again, but this time it won't be given by chance. It will be made. The tribe spreads out through the forest, eyes sharp for lightning scars, for smoke, for anything that hints at fire's return. You trail behind Karu, who stops often to examine stones, branches, and strange fungi. His gaze is focused, searching. You realize what he's doing, trying to remember the accidents, the sparks that happened by chance, stone on stone, wood against wood. For hours nothing works. He strikes two rocks together, clack, clack, just sound, no spark. He rubs a branch against bark until his palms blister. Still nothing. The others watch in silence, their breaths shallow, their hope thinning. Finally, Karu sits back, defeated. The tribe begins to drift toward the cave for shelter, but you stay, because something in the air feels electric. You notice two stones beside you, different from the others, dark, glossy, sharp-edged. You pick them up, strike them once. A spark leaps, tiny, bright, gone in a blink. Karu's head snaps up. You do it again. Chick, another spark, small but real. He scrambles closer, eyes wide. He gestures for you to show him. You hand him the stones. He studies them, feeling the texture, sniffing the faint burnt scent. Flint. He doesn't know the word, but he understands the meaning. The next hour feels like the birth of an empire. Karu crouches over dry moss, striking flint against stone. Sparks fly, some landing, some dying, but one catches. A thin wisp of smoke curls upward. He leans close, breathes softly, carefully. steadily. The smoke thickens. Then, flame. The tribe gasps. Tanu cries out in joy. Karu sits back, panting, eyes shining. He looks almost afraid of what he's done. But when the fire catches, steady and strong, his fear melts into awe. He touches his chest, then the flame, then the sky. You understand his gesture instantly. We've stolen the fire of the heavens. That night, the celebration feels different. The fire wasn't found. It was forged. People laugh louder, eat slower, linger longer. They aren't just grateful, they're proud. This flame isn't a gift anymore, it's a skill, a craft. Karu names the technique with a sound that's half grunt, half breath. The tribe repeats it, a chant rising in rhythm with the crackle of the fire. The sound feels primal, like thunder made of vowels. You realize it's the first word ever spoken in praise of invention. The next morning, Karu begins refining his method. He tests stones, learning which make better sparks. Some crumble, others strike cleanly. He discovers that hitting them at angles makes brighter flashes. Then he finds something remarkable. When he scrapes one stone instead of striking, the sparks fall like tiny stars. He grins. Later, he adds another layer. Dry grass, crushed fungus, fine powder scraped from decayed wood. When a spark lands on it, it doesn't just flash, it glows. You lean close, watching. The ember pulses, breathing like a living thing. Karu cups it gently, nurturing it, feeding it air. The fire blooms again. The tribe erupts in awe. Karu's face softens, proud but humble. You can tell he doesn't see himself as master, but as student, learning a language older than words, written in light and breath. By dusk, everyone is practicing. Sparks fly everywhere, some catching, most not. The forest hums with the sound of human persistence. You can almost hear history turning a page. Fire is no longer mystery, it's method, and with method comes mastery. As the firelight deepens, Karu sits apart, watching the tribe's new obsession. He scratches symbols in the dirt, lines, dots, spirals, each one marking something about how the spark forms. You recognize it, the first recorded experiment. Tanu crawls over, curious, adding his own doodles, little stick figures holding stones, sparks drawn as stars. Katru laughs, ruffling his hair. You realize something beautiful. Invention has become story, and story will become memory. Later that night, Karu calls for silence. He strikes 2 stones again, slowly, deliberately. The fire flares. He holds the glowing spark before his face, eyes shining with reflection. Then he speaks, not loudly, but with weight. The tribe listens. You can't translate the words, but you feel them. This is a moment to remember. The sound of his voice carries the rhythm of generations to come. Teachers, parents, storytellers, all whispering through time. This is how we make the light. Hours later, when the others sleep, you find yourself alone by the embers. You take up the flint, feeling its cool surface, the faint sharpness on your fingertips. You strike once, just to see. A spark dances across your skin, vanishing into the dark. You think about how fragile it all is, this balance of chance and knowledge, of chaos and control. Historians will one day debate when exactly humanity mastered fire. But sitting here, soot on your hands, smoke in your hair, and the night alive with light, you know the answer doesn't matter. Because mastery isn't a single moment. It's a series of sparks, passed from one trembling hand to another across thousands of years. You lean back, eyes half closed, listening to the steady hum of the fire you helped create. Warmth spreads through you, not just in your skin, but somewhere deeper. The tribe sleeps, safe. The night feels softer. And you? You feel the ancient pride of a creature that has finally learned to hold lightning in its palms. The night feels different now. The fire burns not as a fragile blessing, but as a heartbeat, steady, confident, alive. The tribe sleeps in a soft circle of warmth, the flames painting faces with slow-moving gold. Outside that glow, the forest breathes, dark and vast. Inside it, humanity has built its first little island against the void. You sit close to the fire, watching the smoke twist upward. It carries a rhythm now. Every flicker feels like a whisper, every crackle like a sigh. The tribe has begun to understand that fire isn't just for survival, it's for connection. When Karu wakes, he doesn't go hunting or gathering. He sits by the fire and begins to talk. His voice is quiet at first, like he's speaking to himself. But then the others wake, drawn to the sound. Tanu crawls closer, eyes wide. Karu gestures toward the flames and his words grow more vivid. He points, miming animals, storms, the hunt. The tribe laughs, they gasp, they lean in, and then you realize what's happening. Karu is telling a story. It begins with the great fire in the sky, the sun falling into the sea and breaking apart into 1,000 smaller flames. One of those pieces, he says, landed on Earth, hidden inside certain stones. That's where you found it. It's a myth, sure, but it's also explanation. Karu's eyes gleam as he acts it out, his hands flickering like sparks. The firelight dances across his gestures, making the story seem real. You catch yourself smiling. For the first time, the tribe isn't just sharing warmth, they're sharing imagination. The others start joining in. Tanu interrupts to add a detail. The flames scream when they're hungry. Everyone laughs, feeding the fire a handful of dry moss as if to soothe it. A woman adds another twist. When the fire sleeps, the stars appear to guard it. Each night, the story grows. The fire becomes more than heat. It becomes memory, a thing to explain the unexplainable. Karu watches this with quiet satisfaction. He doesn't interrupt. He just lets the tribe weave their voices together. The fire crackles like punctuation. You realize this is how culture begins, not from tools or hunting, but from talking around the light. A few days later, something shifts. The firekeepers gather around Karu with solemn faces. One of them, an older woman named Sira, has been tending a small fire pit deeper in the cave. She says it's special, burning longer, slower, without needing much wood. You follow her to see it. The glow there is dim, but steady. The smoke drifts in clean white ribbons, not choking or thick. She explains, through gestures, that she mixed certain stones and dried dung with the fuel. It burns differently. Karu nods, intrigued. You recognize the gleam in his eyes, the spark of discovery. He crouches down, feeling the heat, smelling the smoke. Then he adds a few flakes of crushed stone from the flint. The flame brightens. Sira claps her hands. The others cheer. It's not just science, it's ritual. That night, the tribe performs their first fire dance. It's clumsy and chaotic, but deeply human. They circle the flames, stomping, chanting the new words they've made. Karu laughs, joining them, his shadow leaping across the cave walls. You can't help but feel moved. The sound, the rhythm, the glow. It's hypnotic. For the first time, fear of the dark feels far away. You look around and see something remarkable. The light from each fire bouncing between walls, creating shapes, animals, faces. They aren't just flames anymore. They're moving pictures. It's accidental cinema, painted in smoke and heat. As the firelight flickers, Kapru picks up a half-burnt stick and begins drawing on the cave wall. At first, it's just a rough outline of a hand. Then he adds lines, arms, legs, something like a mammoth, something like a man holding a spear. The tribe gasps. Kapru grins and keeps drawing. You recognize the expression, pride mixed with wonder. This isn't about decoration. It's about memory. Every stroke, every line, every smudge of ash is a way to trap what once was, a hunt, a storm, a story. The cave becomes their library. That night, as everyone sleeps, you stay awake by the fading fire. You study the drawings, some crude, some strangely elegant. The figures seem to move in the light. You reach out, tracing one with your finger. It's the shape of a handprint. You press your own palm beside it, leaving a faint ghost of soot. It feels like a handshake across time. You think, maybe this is how knowledge survives, not through perfect preservation, but through repetition, imitation, rhythm. Somewhere deep inside, you understand that this, too, is fire, not the kind that burns wood, but the kind that burns in minds. Days pass. The tribe grows bolder. They use fire to shape bones into tools, to harden spear points, to bake clay into solid forms. You watch them discover pottery by accident. Someone drops wet clay near the hearth, and when it dries, it's hard, smooth, and strangely beautiful. Karu picks it up, knocks on it, grins. Fire has become a teacher. The tribe begins building small hearths outside the cave, circles of stone, carefully arranged, each one tended by a family, each fire with its own personality. At night, the valley glows like a constellation. From a distance, it looks like the stars have fallen to earth. Karu gathers the people and points to the fire scattered below. He says something softly, but the meaning is clear. Each flame remembers the first. The tribe bows their heads. Some place offerings near the hearths, stones, feathers, bones. It's not worship in the strict sense, it's gratitude. You feel that gratitude too, for warmth, for light, for story. Humanity didn't just survive the night. It learned to dream inside it. Historians, much later, will debate whether art or language came first, whether storytelling was born from fire or from survival. But sitting here, wrapped in the glow of 100 small flames, you already know the truth. Both began together. One fed the other until the dark itself learned to listen. Karu turns to you, eyes reflecting the fire. He gestures toward the valley, then to your chest. You understand. He's saying, remember this. Because someday, far from now, someone will need to know how it all began. You look up. Smoke rises like a ribbon of thought into the night sky. The stars shimmer faintly, as if responding. You whisper back, quietly, reverently, I will. The fire pops softly, like an approving heartbeat. You close your eyes. The warmth seeps into your bones. Around you, the tribe hums low songs, half words, half dreams. The air smells like ash, clay, and life. And in that moment, you realize something profound. The valley doesn't stay quiet for long. Word of the tribe's fire, if you can even call it word, spreads through gestures, through smoke signals, through travelers who carry both stories and embers in clay bowls. By the time the leaves begin to fall again, strangers start to appear. They come from the ridges beyond the river, lean figures wrapped in furs, faces painted in ash. They move cautiously, half in awe, half in suspicion. Their eyes fix on the glow from Karu's cave, the orange pulse that never dies. You can almost feel what they're thinking. What creature lives inside that makes the light? Karu meets them at the edge of the clearing, hands raised. The flames dance behind him, outlining his form like something divine. The newcomers murmur among themselves, stepping closer, heads bowed. And for the first time, fire becomes not just survival or story, but power. They sit in a ring that night, your tribe on one side, the newcomers on the other. The fire burns between you like a bridge, both beautiful and dangerous. At first, no one speaks. Karu simply gestures to the flame, then to the visitors' hands. One of them, a tall man with scar patterns across his chest, leans forward and extends a stick. Karu nods. The man touches it to the fire, and it catches. The visitor's eyes widen. He pulls back as if holding lightning. Then, hesitantly, he grins. Laughter breaks the tension. The tribes begin to trade, flint for shells, smoked meat for dried berries, gestures for gestures. No words yet, but the rhythm of exchange hums like music. The fire becomes the translator. Over the next days, the newcomers learn how to strike flint, how to feed embers, how to whisper smoke instead of choking on it. In return, they show your tribe how to trap fish using bone hooks, how to twist reeds into cord, how to read the movement of clouds before storms. You realize something subtle is happening. This isn't just sharing knowledge, it's migration. Ideas are moving, sparks leaping from one mind to another, carried by hands, eyes, breath. The first form of civilization isn't a city or a temple, it's a circle of people teaching each other by firelight. One night, Karu sits beside you, silent for a long time. The flames flicker in his eyes, reflecting tiny worlds. He draws a spiral in the dirt, the same pattern he used when he first mapped sparks. He points at it, then at the stars. You follow his gaze and notice how the Milky Way curls across the sky, faint and milky white, like ash scattered by a giant hand. Karu traces both spirals, the one on the ground, the one above, and laughs softly. You get it. He's realizing that the sky and the fire mirror each other, that perhaps in some ancient way the universe itself burns. It's not science yet, but it's wonder, and that's close enough. Days become weeks. The fire circles spread, multiplying like seeds. The newcomers carry embers in small clay pots tied to their belts. You watch them leave, their faces glowing in the morning mist. Each carries part of the tribe's light. Tanu waves at them, grinning. "Tiny sons," he says, in his halting way. The phrase sticks. That night, Karu calls the fire by a new name, something that sounds like Sura, meaning both light and life. The tribe repeats it, their voices blending into a low chant. You listen and realize that language itself is catching flame, shifting, glowing, reshaping meaning the way sparks reshape air. But with expansion comes risk. Not all who see fire understand it as gift. One morning, you wake to smoke, thick, black, wrong. The wind carries the smell of burning fur, scorched meat. Karu rushes toward the outer hearths. One of them is gone, nothing but ash and shattered stone. You follow the tracks. They lead to the forest, where another group, unknown, aggressive, has taken fire by force. They drag torches through the trees, shouting, waving, laughing in strange rhythms. For them, fire isn't story or spirit. It's weapon. The realization hits hard. Humanity has learned to share the sun, but not the peace that came with it. Karu gathers the tribe. His face is tight, solemn. He gestures to the ruined hearth, then to the mountains beyond. The message is clear. They must move. The tribe packs what they can, tools, flint, memories. Tanu clutches a clay pot, its ember glowing faintly inside. As you leave the valley, you look back one last time. The caves flicker dimly, the painted walls catching the last light. You know those handprints will stay for centuries, but the people will not. Still, you feel something powerful. This isn't an ending, it's evolution. Fire moves, because people do. Days pass in cold wind, nights grow longer, darker. The embers you carry become lifelines. Each time the tribe stops, Karu opens the pot, breathes gently, feeds it a handful of dry grass. The flame flares up, small but steady. It's like carrying a soul through the wilderness. Sometimes, when you sleep, you dream that the ember whispers. It sounds like every story ever told. Karu's laughter, Sira's chants, Tanu's questions, all of them living inside that faint orange pulse. You wake each time with a smile because you realize you're not just surviving the night anymore, you're bringing the night's heart with you. After many days, you reach a plain unlike anything you've seen. Wide, flat, with distant herds moving like shadows. Karu plants the ember in the ground, builds a small ring of stones, and breathes life into it once again. The tribe gathers around, exhausted but relieved. The fire leaps high, stronger than before. Karu watches the horizon, eyes glinting. We'll build new circles, he seems to say. Here, too, the light will grow. You sit beside him, the warmth brushing your face. The wind hums softly through the grass. The smell of smoke mixes with the scent of rain. And you realize the truth historians will one day debate endlessly. Did humans spread because they sought land or because they sought light? As night deepens, Karu passes the flint to Tanu. The boy hesitates, then strikes. A spark leaps, bright and confident. The fire catches. Karu smiles, proud and tired. He leans back, letting the warmth soak into his bones. You watch the two of them, the teacher and the student, the old and the young, and it hits you. This is how immortality begins. Not with gods or monuments, but with skills passed quietly from hand to hand. You feel sleep pulling at you, the firelight soft and rhythmic. Karu's breathing slows beside you. The tribe hums an old melody, almost lost in the crackle. You close your eyes. The sound of the flame fills your head, whispering like an old friend. And for the first time in this long journey, you feel something absolute. The night is no longer an enemy. It's a home. The plain is quiet tonight, so quiet that even the fire seems to lower its voice. The flames sway gently in the wind, long and thin, whispering instead of roaring. Smoke curls upward in thin silver threads, vanishing into the stars. You sit beside the glowing embers, eyes heavy, listening to the soft breath of the tribe around you. Karu sleeps near the center, his hands folded over the flint stones. The boy Tanu dreams nearby, his mouth slightly open, murmuring to the smoke as if speaking to old friends. The world has changed, but you can feel the rhythm still, the heartbeat of fire, steady beneath everything. You close your eyes and try to imagine how many fires now burn across the land. Dozens? Hundreds. Little orange eyes blinking in the dark, holding back the wild. Each one alive because someone learned to breathe into the ashes, because someone remembered. In the morning, the sky is pale and gray. You wake to the smell of smoke and dew, that strange mixture of wet and warmth that means life. The tribe moves quietly, gathering their things. Karu walks to the fire pit, crouches, and blows softly until the coals brighten again. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have to. You know the ritual now. Wake the light, feed it gently, carry it forward. But as he works, something catches your eye. A trail of blackened marks across the grass leading away from the camp. The remnants of another group. When you follow them, you find a cold fire pit. Ash scattered, stones cracked, charred wood collapsed inward. Beside it, a broken pot still holds a faint smear of soot. Someone else has passed here, and their flame didn't survive. You stare at it for a long time. The silence feels heavy, respectful. Then, almost without thinking, you kneel and strike your flints together. A single spark leaps out, lands on a wisp of dry grass, glows. You feed it gently until a small fire stirs to life again. You sit with it for a moment, just long enough for the air to smell like warmth again. Then you whisper, "There." When you turn to leave, it's still burning, small but proud. That night, Karu watches you quietly. He doesn't ask where you went, but he seems to understand. He looks at the fire, then back at you, and smiles. A slow, wordless approval. It feels like you've just learned the oldest lesson of all. Fire isn't owned, it's shared. The others gather as twilight deepens. Sira hums a low tune, one that has no real melody, just a rhythm, the rhythm of the crackle. She dips her fingers in ash, drawing spirals on her arms. Tanu copies her, giggling, his small handprints glowing in the firelight. The tribe begins painting themselves with the night's dust. Ashes of old fires mixed with clay and sweat. It's not decoration, it's belonging. Each mark says, "I am of the flame." Later, Karu lifts his head and begins to speak. His words are slow, heavy with pauses. You don't catch every meaning, but you feel them, like stones dropped into deep water. He's telling the tribe that fire isn't just to warm the body anymore, it warms the memory. He points at Tanu, then at you, then at the sky. The message is simple. The fire inside you must travel farther than your feet can go. You realize that's the beginning of legacy, the first whisper of future. The following day, a storm rolls in. You feel it before it comes, the air thick and sharp, like breathing through wet cloth. The clouds pile up fast, dark and rumbling. Karu orders the tribe to dig shallow pits and cover the fire with stones. Tanu clutches the clay pot, terrified of losing the ember. When the rain hits, it hits hard. It drowns the sound of everything except thunder. The world becomes gray, soaked, shivering. You huddle close, guarding the small covered hearth. The wind roars, lightning rips the horizon apart. For a moment, you think it's over, that all the work, all the warmth will be washed away. But then, through the storm, you see something incredible. Lightning strikes a distant tree. Fire bursts from its trunk, orange against the black rain. The others gasp. Even Karu stares transfixed. Nature is making fire again. The tribe laughs in relief, half in awe, half in irony. You can't help but chuckle. "Guess the sky still remembers how," you whisper. When the storm passes, you uncover the hearth. The ember is weak but alive, glowing faintly beneath the stones. Karu breathes gently, reverently, until it brightens. You swear you see tears in his eyes. That night, the fire burns cleaner than ever. The air still smells like rain and smoke. The tribe sits close, quiet, as if afraid to disturb the peace. Karu speaks softly, almost to himself. You catch fragments about light and sky, about storms and a breath. He seems to be piecing together meaning. Maybe lightning isn't enemy, but teacher. Maybe fire isn't divine punishment, but divine invitation. The tribe listens, nodding slowly. You feel the idea sink into everyone's bones. That's how myths become truths, softly, by repetition, under the hush of flame. As the fire settles to embers, you lie back, feeling the earth still trembling faintly beneath you. The stars have returned, sharp and clear, washed clean by rain. You think about the cold fire pit you revived earlier, the one left by strangers. Maybe someone else will find your trail someday. Maybe they'll see the marks of your tribe, your ashes, your handprints. and feel the same warmth you felt tonight. You imagine them kneeling where you sat, striking flint, whispering, "There." And in that image, something in you relaxes, because the night no longer feels endless. It feels connected, woven together by all the small lights flickering across the world. Historians, far in the future, will argue about when humanity truly began. Was it the making of tools, the rise of language, the taming of fire? But you already know the truth. It began when someone lit a flame not for themselves, but for someone they would never meet. The fire hums softly now, more whisper than crackle. The tribe drifts into sleep one by one, the storm forgotten. Karu's breathing deepens beside you. Tanu mumbles in his dreams. You watch the last ember pulse in rhythm with your heartbeat, and before your eyes close, you murmur to the dark, "Good night, old friend." The flame flickers just once, as if it understands. Dawn arrives slowly, as if the sun itself is tired. The sky bleeds from gray to gold, the light soft as breath. You wake to find the tribe already stirring. Karu standing at the edge of camp, his hand shielding his eyes from the glare. The plains stretch endlessly before him, silver with dew, quiet except for the distant call of something wild and unseen. He doesn't turn when you approach. He just points to the horizon where the light pools low and warm. "Sura," he murmurs, the tribe's word for fire, for life. The syllable feels round, old, gentle. It hangs in the air like a prayer. You nod. You both know what comes next. The fire must move again. The tribe travels lightly now. They carry less wood, less fear. They've learned to trust the world, to coax flame from dry moss, to listen for the sigh of wind through hollow bark, to feel the pulse of warmth in flint. Karu calls them the carriers of light. Each person has a small pouch tied at their belt, filled with tinder and stone. Each fire they make feels like a child of the first one, different yet connected. The path you walk glows faintly at night, dotted with the memory of ashes left behind. From above, it would look like a necklace of small breathing stars across the dark plain. You can almost imagine the world watching, amused and tender. As days pass, the land changes. Forest gives way to open grass. Rivers widen. The winds grow colder, cleaner. At night, the tribe huddles together, their bodies making one long curve around the fire. Karu tells stories not of gods now, but of the journey. He speaks of paths made of flame, of ancestors who became smoke and returned as stars. Tanu listens wide-eyed, clutching a burning stick like a scepter. "Do stars burn forever?" he asks one night. Karu smiles faintly. "Nothing burns forever, but fire always finds a new home." You watch Tanu process this, nodding solemnly as if he understands. You realize he probably does. By the third moon, the tribe begins to split, not out of anger or fear, simply because the world is too big for one circle. Karu blesses each departing group with a spark from his own hearth. He places an ember in a clay bowl, whispers a few soft words, and watches them walk away into the night. You stand beside him, silent. He looks tired, but not sad. "They'll carry it farther than I ever could," he says. You think about how strange that must feel, to create something that doesn't need you anymore, to give away your light and know it might never come back. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what it means to be human. As the days shorten, Karu begins to speak less. His voice grows hoarse from years of smoke and cold wind. Sometimes he sits for hours, staring at the fire without moving. You can almost see the thoughts turning behind his eyes, the weight of memory, the shape of legacy. One night, when the tribe settles early, he beckons you closer. He holds the flint stones in his hand and presses them into yours. You freeze. He smiles, faint but certain. You carry it now. The stones are cool at first, then warm from his touch. You close your fingers around them, feeling the tiny scratches, the grooves worn by time and use. It's strange how heavy they feel for something so small. Later, as the tribe sleeps, you strike the stones together softly. Sparks leap and fade. You don't need to make fire. There's already one burning. You just want to hear it. The sound of beginnings, of persistence. Each spark is like a heartbeat of memory. Karu stirs in his sleep, muttering something low. You can't catch the words, but you recognize the tone. Gratitude? You look at him, his hair silver with ash, his face lined by years of wind and smoke. You know he's fading. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but soon enough. And when he goes, the fire will still burn, because now you know how to keep it alive. The following morning, the sun rises pale and thin, the air brittle with frost. Karu doesn't wake. He lies peacefully, hands folded over his chest, a faint smile on his lips. The tribe gathers around him silently. No one wails or screams. They just sit. The fire burns quietly beside him, as if mourning too. You kneel, take the flint from your pouch, and strike a spark into the air. It lands on the ground beside him, glowing for an instant before fading. Tanu watches, tears in his eyes, and whispers, "He's light now." You nod, because you can almost feel it, the warmth in the morning air, the faint shimmer above the fire. Karu isn't gone. He's everywhere the flame touches. That night, the tribe builds a large fire, not for cooking or warmth, but for remembering. They feed it with dry grass, branches, bones, and the ashes of Karu's hearth. The flames rise high, roaring, wild. Sparks shoot into the night sky, drifting upward like souls. The tribe sings, not words, just sounds, rhythmic and deep, like the heartbeat of the earth. You join them, voice trembling, chest heavy. The stars above flicker as if joining in. For a moment, you swear you see him there, Karu's silhouette in the smoke, smiling, walking away into the light. You blink, and he's gone. But the warmth stays. When dawn returns, the tribe moves on. The great fire burns low, leaving only embers. You scoop one into a new pot, seal it carefully. You look back once, at the field of smoke, at the rising sun, at the faint smell of ash that lingers like memory. Then you turn and walk forward. The land opens before you, wide and silent. The sky blushes gold, then fades into blue. In your hand, the ember beats softly, steady, alive, eternal. You whisper to it, just once, "I'll keep you safe." It glows in response, as if it understands. The world feels larger now, but not empty. Every breath of wind smells faintly of smoke. Every flicker of light reminds you of him, of them, of all who carried the flame before. And as night falls again, you realize something quiet but certain. The fire doesn't just live in the hearth anymore. It lives inside you. Night folds around you like velvet, deep and endless. The air is thin, the wind whispering through tall grass that glows faintly in the starlight. The tribe has found a new place to rest, a hollow between two ridges, where the sky feels closer, like you could reach out and stir the constellations with your hand. You kneel by the fire you built. It crackles quietly, alive, warm. The ember Karu left you burns at its core, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. You watch the flame shift, gold, then blue, then gold again, and you think of him, Of all the faces that came before, all the fires that have gone cold, and all the ones still burning somewhere out there in the dark. You breathe out softly. Smoke drifts upward, curling toward the stars. You wonder if that's what souls become. Light rising, searching for a new home among the endless black. The tribe is smaller now. Some stayed behind near the river, some wandered north. Those who remain move quietly, their words hushed, their laughter softer. The world itself feels older, as if it's learned to listen. Tanu sits beside you, staring at the flames. His face is longer now, his voice steadier. "Do you think they see us?" he asks. "The ones who left?" You smile faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe they just feel the warmth, like we do." He nods, satisfied with that. You add, half teasing, "Or maybe they're too busy arguing with the stars about whose fire burns brighter." He grins at that, the first real grin in days. Later, after the others sleep, you walk a little way up the ridge. The wind hums low, carrying the faint crackle of the campfire below. From here, the sky looks impossibly vast, hundreds of stars flickering like distant embers scattered across black velvet. You tilt your head back and whisper, "Karu." The name hangs there, swallowed by the dark. Then, faintly, you see it, a streak of light cutting across the heavens, a meteor burning silently as it falls. You feel your breath catch. It's just a rock, you tell yourself, a shard of ice and dust. But still it feels like an answer. Back at the camp, you find the others asleep, curled close around the fire. You sit beside them, draw your knees to your chest, and stare into the glowing coals. You think about how strange it is, how something that devours also gives life. Fire destroys, but it also protects, warms, cooks, illuminates. Maybe that's why the old people called it sacred. You poke the embers gently, and sparks leap upward like tiny souls trying to escape. Somewhere far away, lightning flashes on the horizon, silent and distant. You smile. Nature's own fire, fierce and untamed. You remember Karu's words, "We only borrow the flame." It was never truly ours. Maybe that's what makes it beautiful, the fact that you can never own it, only tend to it for a little while. The next few nights blur into one another. The stars change, the wind shifts, and the tribe keeps moving. They've learned to follow not just rivers or herds, but the patterns in the sky, the constellations that rise and fade with the seasons. Tanu calls them the fire above. He says each one is an ancestor watching over a different part of the world. The old hunter who guards the northern stars, the mother who watches the horizon, the twin flames that guide travelers home. Historians still debate when early humans first began mapping the heavens, but in moments like this, with smoke curling toward the Milky Way and the air cool against your skin, it feels timeless, like the instinct to look up has always been there, coded into the blood. You trace shapes between the stars, half imagining figures, a hand holding a torch, a bear sleeping in winter light, a river of sparks that never fades. For a moment, you feel perfectly still, balanced between earth and sky. The wind shifts, the fire flickers low. You add another piece of wood, watching the flame catch and rise again. You think about the first spark, the one struck from stone, trembling against the cold, the awe it must have brought, the miracle of it. You can almost feel that ancient heartbeat in the air still, the pulse of discovery, of danger, of warmth. You whisper, "We're still your children," to the darkness. It feels like the stars wink back. By morning, the tribe begins to pack. The air is bright and sharp, filled with birdsong. You gather the ashes carefully, sprinkling some into the grass, saving a small portion in your pouch. Where will we go next? Tanu asks, hoisting his pack. Where the light leads, you reply. He laughs. That's not a real direction. You shrug. It's the only one that matters. He rolls his eyes but smiles, and you start walking together, your shadows long in the morning sun. The land opens before you, soft hills, winding streams, fields whispering with wind. Each step feels lighter than the last. That night, you camp by a river. The water reflects the stars so clearly it's hard to tell where the sky ends and the world begins. The tribe builds a small fire, but this time it's different. They arrange the stones carefully, the wood just so. You realize they're building it the way Karu did, the way you taught them. It's strange, the way habits become memory and memory becomes ritual. You sit by the fire's edge, feeling the warmth crawl across your skin. The flame dances in your eyes, alive, tireless. You close them, and you see shapes moving within the light, hands passing sparks, faces glowing, generations stretching backward and forward in endless rhythm. The fire hums softly, like a lullaby from the earth itself, and for the first time you understand. You were never just learning how to survive the night. You were learning how to belong to it. You look up one last time before sleep. The stars shimmer faintly, the river gleaming beside them. The flame beside you burns steady and kind. You whisper, "We're here." The night doesn't answer, but you feel something warm brush against your heart anyway, like the world heard you and smiled. The fire sighs softly, the wind hums through the grass, and slowly, gently, your thoughts drift into darkness. The world is quiet again, softer than before. The stars hang lower, blurred by the faint mist of early dawn. You wake to the gentle hush of water against stone, the smell of damp earth and wood smoke lingering in your hair. The fire has died down to a low red glow, a heartbeat sleeping beneath the ash. You stir it gently, blowing on it until the embers flare orange and alive. The air warms, light flickers across your fingers. You smile without realizing it. It's strange how something so small, so fragile, can make the world feel whole. Tanu stirs beside you, still half dreaming. "You're always the first one awake," he murmurs. "Someone has to keep the light alive," you say, teasing softly. He yawns, rubbing his eyes. "You talk to it like it listens." You glance at the fire. It does. He doesn't argue. Maybe he's starting to believe it too. The days feel different now, slower, more peaceful. The tribe has grown quiet, almost reverent. Every task, gathering food, weaving baskets, shaping tools, feels like part of the same rhythm, the same quiet song. Sometimes, while grinding grain or washing stones in the river, you catch yourself humming without noticing. The tune doesn't belong to you. It's older, like something carried in the bones. You remember Karu's voice. Everything that burns leaves a story behind. Maybe that's what the smoke is. Stories rising, carried to wherever the wind decides. As the sun dips low, the tribe gathers near the fire. Shadows stretch long across the ground, weaving together until it's hard to tell where one ends and another begins. Tanu sits cross-legged, drawing circles in the dirt. Around him, the others listen as you speak, not like a leader, but like a keeper of something fragile and shared. You tell them about the first spark, the first fear of the night, the first time someone dared to reach into darkness and pull out light. You tell them about Karu, about the ridge, about the stars that never forget. Your voice is steady, but there's a tremor beneath it. Not sadness, just the weight of remembering. When you finish, the fire crackles once, as if clapping. A few people laugh softly. Someone whispers, "The flame approves," and maybe it does. Later that night, when everyone else is asleep, you sit alone by the fire again. The stars seem closer now, the sky softer, less infinite. You can almost see threads of light connecting each glowing point, maps of memory weaving through time. You close your eyes and listen. There's the sound of the river, the whisper of grass, the pulse of flame, but beneath it, something else, something quieter, deeper. It's the sound of breath, of life continuing, of countless nights like this one, long before and long after you. You realize that all of it, every spark, every story, every small act of warmth, is connected. Fire was never just about survival. It was about continuity, a promise whispered through generations. We were here, we endured. Historians still debate when humanity first began to think in terms of forever, when we stopped just surviving and started believing in something larger than ourselves. But sitting here, feeling the earth breathe beneath you, it feels obvious. Forever began with fire. You toss another stick onto the coals and watch the flame swell. The warmth touches your face, soft and steady. You think about how far you've come, from that first cold night to now, from fear to understanding. You think about how the fire changed everything, how it gave humans time to think, to dream, to remember. Maybe that's why it feels sacred. It gave us nights. It gave us stories. It gave us the space between breaths where imagination lives. Tanu stirs again, mumbling something about stars. You look over and smile. His hand rests near the edge of the firelight, fingers twitching in sleep, as if reaching for warmth, even in dreams. You wonder what he's dreaming of, perhaps Karu, or perhaps something new entirely, something that will one day become its own story, told beside another fire in another age. You look at the flame, and it feels almost alive, like it knows what's coming, what it's destined to ignite in the hearts of those who follow. Maybe it's smiling too. Hours pass. The fire sinks lower, the air grows cool. You lie back, eyes on the stars. They blur slightly, shimmering through the heat waves above the coals. You think about how small you are, how vast everything else is. But somehow, that doesn't feel frightening anymore. It feels peaceful. You are part of something larger, woven into the same fabric of warmth and darkness that stretches across all of time. The universe burns, and so do you, not in destruction, but in presence, in light. The breeze shifts. The flame leans toward you as if listening. You whisper to it quietly, words you're not even sure you mean to say. If anyone's watching, we remember. The fire hums in response, the sound low and steady. You close your eyes, letting the rhythm of it seep into you, the crackle, the pulse, the breath of the night. The boundaries between you and it begin to blur. The warmth becomes part of you. The glow behind your eyelids turns gold. For a heartbeat, you feel as if you're both burning and resting at once. And then, just as gently, the feeling fades. When morning comes, you're still there, the fire reduced to soft white ash. The world is painted in early light, pale and calm. You stir the ashes one last time and find a single coal still warm beneath the surface. You hold it in your palm until it cools, then bury it in the soil beside the river. Not an ending, just another beginning, waiting quietly for someone to find it again. You look at the rising sun, its golden face shimmering on the water. You whisper a simple thank you to the fire, to the past, to the night that taught you how to glow in the dark. The wind carries your words away, scattering them across the grass, and you smile, because that's enough. The night returns, quieter than any before. It isn't cold, not anymore, just cool enough to make the warmth of the earth beneath you feel like an embrace. The tribe sleeps close together, scattered around small fires that wink like stars fallen to the ground. You lie there, listening to the slow rhythm of their breathing. Somewhere far off, an owl calls once. The river murmurs softly in reply. The fire beside you sighs. Its glow pulses slow and steady, like a heartbeat learning to rest. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the air against your skin, the faint brush of smoke, the ghost of warmth moving through the night. It's the same feeling you've carried since that first spark, the same comfort, the same fragile golden thread. You realize something simple and true. The world isn't as dark as it once was, not because the night has changed, but because you have. You learn to see in it, to listen, to belong. In the beginning, fire was a miracle. It scared you, burned you, saved you. You treated it like a god, then like a tool, then like a friend. But somewhere along the way, it became something quieter, an echo, a whisper. The fire didn't just teach you how to live, it taught you how to stay. It taught you to gather, to share, to tell stories instead of running from silence. It gave you time to wonder, to remember, to dream. Maybe that's how humanity truly began, not with a spark of stone, but with the first story told beside it. You sit up and feed the fire one last branch. The wood catches instantly, a soft flare that paints your hands gold. The smoke rises straight into the night, carrying the faint scent of resin and ash. The stars shimmer above, countless and close. You can almost see them breathing. Tanu stirs beside you, half asleep. "You're watching again," he mumbles. You smile. Someone has to make sure the stars don't go out. He laughs quietly and rolls over. You keep watching. Above you, the constellations shift. They're familiar now, old friends. The hunter, the river, the twin flames, shapes traced by ancestors who looked up just like you do now, naming the lights to feel less alone. And for the first time, you realize you are part of the same pattern, the same fire that once flickered in Karu's hands, that once roared in caves and danced on mountain ridges, now burns inside your chest. Steady, human, eternal. The wind moves through the grass like a sigh. You listen to it, your heartbeat matching its rhythm. Each exhale of the night feels like it's telling you something, not in words, but in feeling. A reminder that everything is connected, every ember, every breath, every dream. You think about the generations to come, the ones who will build homes of stone, who will shape metal, who will trap fire in lamps and engines and screens. They'll call it progress, but in truth, it's all just the same story told a little differently. They'll still gather around light when the dark feels heavy. They'll still whisper to it, and somewhere deep down, they'll still remember you, the one who carried the ember, the one who learned not just to survive the night, but to love it. You lie back once more. The fire hums softly beside you. The stars blink slow, patient. The air tastes faintly of smoke and honey grass. Time begins to loosen, each second stretching, melting like wax and warmth. You feel your body sink into the earth, the sound of your breath blending with the breeze. You picture Karu standing at the edge of dawn, his face turned toward the light. You see Tanu, grown and laughing, telling stories to others one day. You see fires blooming across the world, hundreds, thousands of them, flickering like living constellations across the dark skin of the earth. And then you see something softer, something only half formed, a person far in the future, sitting by a quiet glow in their room, watching the light on their screen, listening to a voice tell a story about the first fire. You smile faintly. The fire never died. It just learned new ways to burn. The breeze fades. The night grows still. The flame near you lowers itself, gentle now, breathing slow, as if it too is getting ready to rest. The shadows stretch long and dissolve into silver. Your eyelids grow heavy. You think of warmth. You think of smoke rising into stars. You think of stories still waiting to be told. The last thought drifts through you like a whisper. Maybe this was never about surviving the night. Maybe it was about learning how to dream inside it. The fire flickers one last time, gold, then amber, then soft gray. You breathe in the faint scent of wood and sleep. The world exhales. Everything is warm and quiet and whole. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, you let go